This is the story of how two teenagers, fueled by methamphetamine and resentment, spent weeks planning the murder of a 61-year-old grandmother in her own home. February 2025 brought the death of Tammy King, shot in the head by her own granddaughter and the boyfriend she'd been hiding in her bedroom, all for cash, guns, and what they believed would be freedom. The digital trail these killers left behind makes this case particularly chilling. Text messages and Instagram conversations revealed their planning in disturbing detail, with messages that read, "Kill her at 4" and "We ride at dawn." What follows is the story of how a grandmother's attempt to set boundaries led to premeditated murder, a desperate manhunt, and a case that exposed just how far teenage rebellion can spiral when mixed with drugs and desperation. 61-year-old Tammy King lived in Backcliff, Texas, an unincorporated community in Galveston County, in a home on the 4700 block of 15th Street, where she wasn't alone. Raising her granddaughter Tara King, who was 17 and attending Dickinson High School, became Tammy's full-time responsibility. The house contained numerous guns stored in safes throughout the rooms, a remnant of Tammy's late husband's work as a firearms dealer. Tammy's boyfriend regularly visited and stayed at the house, and she was trying to provide stability for her granddaughter while navigating the challenges that come with raising a teenager who didn't want to be raised. Arguments about school attendance erupted constantly because Tara didn't want to go to school, and these disagreements were becoming more frequent and heated with each passing week. Another source of tension in the household would prove even more dangerous. 18-year-old Uriah Lee Urick Jr., who went by the nickname Percy, was Tara King's boyfriend. And here's what made the situation unusual. Uriah had been living in Tammy King's home, allegedly hiding in Tara's bedroom and spending most of his time under her bed. Tammy's disapproval was clear. She found Uriah too loud and refused to allow him to spend the night officially, which according to Uriah's own mother was the exact reason Tara hated her grandmother. The tension kept building, and Tara had recently made statements to others that she wanted her grandmother to die. Uriah's background tells a darker story. His mother would later tell police about his history of anxiety and depression, his history of self-harm, and how he'd threatened his stepfather while being physically abusive toward his siblings. When investigators asked both his mother and stepfather if they believed Uriah was capable of murder, both said yes. Both teenagers were using methamphetamine regularly, supplied by a 35-year-old dealer named Travis Wayne Hodge, who had 5 arrests within 5 years and previous convictions for drug offenses and forgery. Hodge would eventually play a critical role in what happened after the murder. What happened to Tammy King wasn't a crime of passion or a spontaneous act of violence. Weeks of planning went into it, methodically documented in text messages and Instagram conversations that investigators would later use to build their case. January 26, 2025 marks the earliest date when messages between Uriah Urick and Tara King show they were discussing their plan in disturbing detail. They were planning to steal antique coins, cash, methamphetamine, and firearms from the safes inside Tammy King's home, and to do that they needed Tammy dead. The messages recovered by investigators are chilling to read. Testing firearms was discussed in one message that read 5.56 shred through skin, referring to the caliber of ammunition they'd use. Schedules for the attack appeared in messages like "Kill her at 4" and "We ride at dawn." Their cover story was perhaps the most manipulative part. Friends started hearing from the teenagers that they were victims of Tammy's alleged abuse and drug use, painting themselves as the victims in a narrative they were actively constructing even as they planned her murder. The last time Tammy's boyfriend saw her alive was Tuesday night, February 4th, 2025, when he was at the home with Tammy, Tara, and Uriah. Wednesday morning, February 5th, brought another argument when Tara didn't want to go to school again, and this fight would be the last conversation Tammy's boyfriend would have with her before he left. Tammy visited a restaurant after that, which investigators know because a receipt was later found at the crime scene. The medical examiner would later determine that Tammy King died from a gunshot wound to the left side of her head in the early morning hours of February 5th. What happened next shows this wasn't just murder, but robbery, theft, and desecration all rolled into one. Covering Tammy's nude body with numerous sheets and blankets, the killers left her on the bedroom floor and began ransacking the house. Gun safes were emptied and left open. Tammy's purse got dumped onto the living room floor, and ammunition boxes marked with the initials of Tammy's late husband were scattered around. Approximately $5,400 in cash disappeared, along with antique coins, high-value firearms, Tammy's credit cards, and her cell phone. The theft continued electronically within hours of the murder. 5 cash app transactions of $500 each were transferred from Tammy's account to Tara's account, totaling $2,500. Attempts to transfer even more failed when transactions of $5,000 and $20,000 wouldn't go through. Uriah sent a message after the murder describing the event as the start of the rest of our lives. Thousands of dollars in cash and stolen guns in their possession, Uriah, Uric, and Tara King began a frantic attempt to flee. Social media became their lifeline as they started desperately reaching out to friends and acquaintances, asking for help, money for rides. To northern states including Wyoming, Illinois, and Idaho was what they offered first. When money wasn't enough, firearms came into play as they tried to trade stolen guns for rides or places to stay. One friend received an Instagram request from Tara asking for a ride to Wyoming for $300. That friend couldn't give them a ride, but asked another friend instead, who arrived at an address in Backcliff, where Uriah and Tara placed 2 assault rifles in his trunk. The drive to Pearland ended with them meeting Travis Hodge, their drug dealer. Christian Atkins from League City agreed to let them stay at his apartment after they paid him $500. Hair cutting and dyeing happened together while they were there, and Atkins said they appeared very paranoid the entire time. Instagram became Tara's confessional during this time, when one friend sent her a screenshot of a Galveston County Sheriff's Office Facebook post showing Tara as a person of interest in her grandmother's murder. Tara's reply was simple: "Do not say, Suri, I'm begging you." One woman who Tara contacted actually called the Galveston County Sheriff's Office. Her report stated that Tara had admitted to her that she and Uriah killed Tammy King because they were angry at her while high on methamphetamine. Thursday, February 6th, brought concern when Tammy's boyfriend tried to reach her but couldn't. His call to the Galveston County Sheriff's Office requested a welfare check, and when he arrived at the home on 15th Street in Backcliff, forcing entry became necessary. Ransacked was the only word for how the home appeared, with Tammy's purse emptied on the living room floor and multiple gun safes left open with items thrown everywhere. Tammy's bedroom held the worst discovery. Her body was on the floor. Deputies responded immediately while the medical examiner identified the gunshot wound to the left side of her head and ruled it a homicide. Detectives quickly identified Tara King and Uriah Uric as persons of interest. Friday, February 7th, brought deputies to Uriah's home to search for him, but he wasn't there. His mother showed detectives his bank account, and they found numerous cash app transactions between Uriah and Tara on Wednesday, February 5th, the day of the murder. She also told them that Tara hated her grandmother and had recently stated she wanted her grandmother to die. The teenagers were on the move. Travis Hodge agreed to drive them to Laredo, Texas, more than 300 miles away, after Uriah offered him $1,000 for the ride. During that long drive, Uriah told Hodge that he couldn't get the smell of burning flesh out of his nose. Sunday, February 9th, 2025 marked 4 days after the murder when Uriah Uric and Tara King were arrested in Laredo with assistance from the U.S. Marshals. The 3-day manhunt was over and both were brought back to Galveston County Jail without bond. Wednesday, February 26th brought the arrest of Travis Wayne Hodge during a traffic stop in Backcliff. Hodge made a deal for a 10-year prison sentence in exchange for his cooperation, and he led police to his storage unit where the murder weapons and ammunition were hidden. Ballistics testing confirmed that one of these guns was used to kill Tammy King. November 4th through November 7th, 2025 brought Uriah Lee Uric Jr. to trial in Galveston County. 9 women and 3 men made up the jury, and Assistant District Attorney Kate Willis led the prosecution. The evidence was overwhelming. Text messages and Instagram conversations dating back to January 26th were presented to the jury, who saw messages discussing kidnapping, robbing, and killing alongside 5.56 Shred Through Skin, Kill Her at 4, and We Ride at Dawn. Financial evidence proved damning. 5 cash app transactions of $500 each, the failed attempts to transfer thousands more, and the approximately $5,400 in cash stolen from the home all painted a clear picture. Travis Hodge took the stand as the prosecution's star witness and testified about Uriah's confession during the drive. "I couldn't get the smell of burning flesh out of my nose." Uriah's own mother testified and described his history of anxiety, depression, and self-harm. When asked if she believed her son was capable of murder, she said yes. The defense argued that the state failed to prove the robbery occurred concurrently with the homicide and described the defendants as two naive, drug-influenced teenagers chasing independence, not money. November 7, 2025 brought the verdict after approximately 3.5 hours of deliberation: guilty of capital murder. Texas law made the sentence automatic: life in prison without the possibility of parole. Uriah Lee Urick Jr. is currently serving life in prison without the possibility of parole and will never be released. Travis Wayne Hodge is serving his 10-year sentence in Galveston County. Tara. Lynn King remains in Galveston County Jail without bond, and her trial is scheduled to begin on January 5, 2026. The murder of Tammy King shows how teenage resentment, drug use, and access to weapons can lead to unthinkable violence. Arguments about school attendance and a forbidden boyfriend escalated over weeks into a carefully planned execution of a grandmother by the granddaughter she was raising. Digital evidence proved their downfall. Kill Her at 4, We Ride at Dawn, the start of the rest of our lives. These weren't the ramblings of troubled kids venting online. They were planning documents for a murder. 61 years old was Tammy King, trying to raise her granddaughter and set boundaries that any responsible guardian would set. That pushback turned into murder, and for Tammy's family, the pain gets compounded by the fact that it came from within her own home. Both teenagers will have decades to think about what they did in those early morning hours of February 5th, 2025, when they shot a grandmother in the head for cash, guns, and what they thought was freedom. Instead, they bought themselves a lifetime behind bars.